we're seeing now is the forecast po for next year. No, yung January up to December this point is the actual sales. Ang forecast natin dyan is from this point up to this point. Kung titingnan ninyo, na ibalik po natin yung seasonality ng ating trend. So, ay mayroon na ulit siyang season. May mga part na bumabagsak, may mga part na, na umaangat naman, pero this is now the forecast. Okay, again, this is the trend projection with centered moving average. Hello everyone, so welcome to our new topic, and for this discussion we will going to have our topic regarding the trend projection with centered moving average, or what we call basically the CMA. Again, trend projection with centered moving average. So again, as part of our short review or recap, when we say trend projection, we are projecting the trend on a linear basis, and that is actually the same with our regression analysis on our statistical analysis 2 before. Now, let's start our discussion regarding this topic. So when we say trend projection with centered moving average, or the CMA, this is a trend projection, okay, linear forecasting, almost the same with our topics before, but this removes the effect of seasonal variation in the trend line formula. Meaning, if we are going to apply the trend projection in this one, no, dapat wala siyang seasonality. Therefore, we are going to have here the deseasonalizing of our data. No, tinatanggal natin yung seasonal variation ng ating data para wala siyang effect in our projection. And of course, another thing is, instead of just the simple moving average, we're going to use the centered moving average. So trend projection with centered moving average here will be presented with the following conditions. For the first condition is that there is a historical record of actual events. Next, the past record of actual events is at least 2 years. So, ito, na-explain ko to before. Kasi nga, with at least 2 years, no, we have already the seasonal variation. And dito, how can we remove the seasonal variation if our data is only 1 year? So, walang seasonal variation na makukompute doon. And therefore, wala tayong ma-remove on the deseasonalizing part of our computation. That's why at least somehow, we must have at least 2 years of our record. For the third assumption is that we have here an apparent trend in the figures over time. So, hindi pa natin nagagamit yung forecasting, pero kapag enough natin yung record natin, there is an evident trend. Again, just a recap, when we say trend, this can be increasing or decreasing. For the fourth one, there is an apparent trend in the figures across seasons naman. Now, yung una is the overtime, across overtime, over the historical data. Now across the seasons. And lastly, there is a need to deseasonalize the projection for accuracy. That is the purpose of deseasonalizing, for our accurate forecast. Now, what is deseasonalization? Actually, I have said it before, the definition of deseasonalization, and that is a statistical method for removing the seasonal component of a time series. It is also usually done when wanting to analyze the trend and cyclical deviations from trend of a time series independently of the seasonal component. So, deseasonalization, guys, is actually part of forecasting wherein we don't want to have the seasonal variation, given in our previous data. Okay? So now, ano naman itong centered moving average, or the CMA? Actually, CMA are placed at the center of the range rather than at the end of it. This is done to position the moving average values at their central positions in time. So if we have a moving average, for example, moving average of the last 4 months, diba, kung naalala ninyo, we are averaging the last 4 months. And that will be the projected for the next month, projected output, or projected sales, or projected value for the next month. That is the moving average. Now, For the centered moving average, we are trying to put the values, the average, computed average on the center of the whole range. So for example, we have 1 year from January to December. We must don't have any value na katumbas ng December. Dapat dyan, nasa gitna siya, no, ng ating range. That is why it is called centered moving average. Now, the most common use of centered moving averages is for estimating the trend cycle from seasonal data. Okay, now we have an example problem here. Karugtong pa rin po ito ng ating problem before, all about Del Monte Ketchup. So, number 7 na ito. George, the marketing manager of Del Monte Ketchup, wants to improve the accuracy of the forecast by removing the effect of seasonal trend based on month in the trend line formula. He thinks that there is a linear trend of the monthly sales over time with variation due to the seasons based on month over the last 2 years. The figures are summarized in the table on the next slide. The question is, what is the forecast on the monthly sales next year? I have here the data for the last year and of course this year, and these are all in $1,000. As you can see, from 6 to 25 for the last year. For this year, we have the data 8 to 29. So, here are actually the steps in solving for trend projection with centered moving average or the CMA. Now guys, while having these steps, we will going to compute the adjusted forecast for our next year. So, bali may 3 taon po tayong pinag-uusapan dito. Yung data last year, data this year, and the projected forecast, projected sales on the next year. Ayun yung isosolve natin. So, habang sinusolve, I have here an Excel file prepared, no, para doon tayo diretso mag-compute. Okay, for the first part of our computation, we must determine the seasonal index. Now, what is seasonal index? By the formula, it is actually the seasonal ratio multiplied to the adjusting factor. Seasonal ratio, ano naman itong seasonal ratio? When we say seasonal ratio, monthly sales over CMA. Later, we will go into compute the specific values of our CMA. For the adjusting factor, that is N over the seasonal ratio. Okay, I hope you get it. Anyway, we will go into start our Excel solution now. I have here the Excel file, of course, with our proper table na nakaset na siya. And I have also here the month and yung given na sales natin. So, 6 to 25, this is for the last year. And for this year, data this year, we have January up to December. And of course, the sales from 8 up to 29. Now, for the time period po, as you can see, I have indicated here, our number 1 time period is January last year up to 12. And the January this year will to start at 13. Dahil we are about to apply this pagdating po sa trend projection. Again, trend projection is almost the same with the regression analysis and of course their sales. Our goal now is to have another set of data here which is for the next year. Ano ba yung magiging sales for the next year? Okay, for the seasons we have 12 since we have 12 months per year. Now, first step, sabi sa ating PowerPoint is to find the seasonal index. But we can find the seasonal index if we don't know yet our seasonal ratio and of course the adjusting factor. And kung titingnan ninyo yung formula sa dalawang ito, we have the monthly sales given na CMA hindi pa. And given na seasonal ratio hindi pa. So let's start with seasonal ratio, with computing the seasonal ratio. And ang hindi pa given dito is the CMA. So let's start solving for the CMA. Actually, as you can see here, CMA is on the column letter F. And that is before, or rather after, the column E, which is the MA12. Meaning to say, for us to be able to solve for the value of our centered moving average, we must first compute for the value of our MA12 or the moving average with 12 period or 12-month period. And ito po siya. That's why, it is the reason baka kaya wala tayo walang data dito. Okay, so no data for this. So start tayo. So let's have an average of the last 12 months dito. Okay, so sales, just highlight this and enter. And of course, copy this and paste. Okay, and pasobrahan natin ng isa. So, meaning to say, our forecast using the moving average with 12 months as our basis, 12-month period, our forecast for January next year will be 20.5 or $20,500. $20,500. Yun. That is our forecast for next year. Now, ano naman tong CMA? No? Guys, when we say CMA, again, if we have the range, I hope you still remember what is a range. That is the lowest value up to the highest value. And in our case, our range is from 1 or the January last year and up to the 24 or the December last year. As you can see po, this is total of 24 months. Right? And kung titingnan ninyo, itong moving average natin na 12, ilan po itong lahat? That is actually 13 or 12. No, actually 12 eh. Dahil pinasobrahan lang natin, sinadya natin pasobrahan to just to see kung ano yung forecast next year. Pero to be exact, no, hanggang 12 lang ang meron tayo. Now, itong 12, ang gusto po natin is that nasa gitna siya ng 1 to 24. Okay, 1 to 24. Meaning, dapat pinakaunang data na meron tayo is the July last year. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Merong 6 na sobra or rather 6 na walang data dito sa unahan and 6 din doon sa dulo. Kaya siya nakagitna dapat. Kukunin natin yung range niya, then igigitna natin yung meron tayong data. So, no data rin dito sa dulo. And how to compute the moving average, the centered moving average? Basically, we're just going to have the average of our 2 months. Okay, ayun na po yun. No, average natin yan. So, we have here the CMA for the July last year, which is equivalent to 18.5. Copy this and drag hanggang makarating tayo doon sa June this year. So, this is actually total of 12 months. Kung bibilangin nyo, okay? Total of 12 months. So, this is our CMA or the centered moving average. Now, let's go back to our PowerPoint to see kung nasaan na tayo. Okay. Monthly sales over CMA. So, we have already the monthly sales and we already have the CMA. So, meaning, we can now compute for the seasonal ratio. Okay. Now, for the seasonal ratio, basically, that is the actual sales, monthly sales, divide our CMA. Okay. And our first seasonal ratio is 1.14. Copy, no, and drag, no, papunta sa dulo, which is hanggang June. So, wala rin po tayong data dito, just like on the CMA, dahil nakadepende ang ating computation for seasonal ratio doon sa ating monthly sales, meron lahat, pero yung CMA natin, wala po kasi doon. Kaya, same siya na no data on that. Copy and paste. Now, for the seasonal index, seasonal index, it says here that the seasonal index is the seasonal ratio multiplied to adjusting factor. Pero wala pa tayong adjusting factor, right? Meaning, unahin po natin si adjusting factor and that is equivalent to the N over the seasonal ratio. So, what is our N? Yan, nilagay ng adjusting factor. Isa lang naman yung value niya. So, our adjusting factor is N. Ilan sila? Ilan ng ating month? That is actually 12. So, 12 divided by our seasonal ratio. And that is the total. Ito po. So, yung total seasonal ratio. Equivalent to 1.009 or this is 1.01. So, that will be our adjusting factor. This 11.89 guys, I have a formula na nakalagay na dito. No? That is the summation of our seasonal ratio, 11.89. So again, 12 divided by 11.89 is 1.01. That will be our adjusting factor. Now, saan po ulit siya gagamitin? Seasonal ratio multiplied to our adjusting factor. Meaning, lahat ng data na nandyan, from 1.14 to 1.13, i-multiply natin silang lahat dito sa adjusting factor na 1.01 and that will be the value for the seasonal index. Okay, so let's multiply them. This multiply to adjusting factor. And since they are all multiplied here, let's lock the formula for this. So, just click Fn, then F4 para mag-lock. Para kapag dinag ninyo up to this part sa row 20, ayan. Ayun pa rin yung formula. Ayun, kung titignan nyo yung red, nandun pa rin. Ang nag-a-adjust lang is ito, yung sa G. Okay, so this is our seasonal index. Sir, what will be the seasonal index for January up to June? You know, if tatanungin nyo ako, what will be the seasonal index for that? Actually po, since we are talking all about seasonal index, di ba nga sabi natin, seasonal index is the index that says kung ano man yung rate ng sales on that period. Okay? Halimbawa, tuwing January, mabababa or mataas. Tuwing August, mabababa or mataas yung sales. So, ayun yung sinasabi ng seasonal index. So, for January, since we have computed seasonal index dito, pareho po ang magiging seasonal index na, itong set of seasonal index na yan, dito. And ito naman, yung computed July to December, that will also be the seasonal index dito naman, sa kabilang dulo. Kumbaga, palitan lang sila. Now, we're just going to copy them. So, copy natin. So, July to December. Let's paste this, yung values. And this one, January to June. And paste natin doon sa unahan. And we have now completed our seasonal index. So, bakit natin kinuha yung seasonal index? Dahil nga po, kung babalikan natin, no, balik tayo sa PowerPoint presentation. Sabi natin doon, si trend projection with centered moving average is a linear forecasting technique that removes the effect of seasonal variation in the trend line formula. So, paano natin mare-remove yung effect ng seasonal variation if in the first place, we don't know the seasonal index? Right? Kaya natin unang kinumpute yung seasonal index. And since we have now computed the seasonal index, we can actually proceed with deseasonalizing our data. Okay? And for the formula, for the deseasonalized sales, ang formula po natin for the deseasonalized sales is nandito sa ating PowerPoint presentation. It says here that our deseasonalized sales is the monthly sales over the seasonal index. For the lacking seasonal indices, just copy the data from the last year and or this year. Ito yung ginawa natin kanina. No, yung pinapin natin yung nasa baba papunta sa taas, yung kulang, and yung kulang sa baba, kinapya natin doon. Galing naman sa last year na data. Anyway, we have already the complete data for seasonal index. I-divide na lang natin siya per month. Okay? So, let's have it here. So, ito, divided by our seasonal index. So, this will be our deseasonalized sales. Copy hanggang sa December this year. Oops, December this year and paste. Okay, so meaning this will be now our deseasonalized sales. Okay, ayun na siya. So, meaning ano na, no? Wala nang effect yung seasonality. Ibig sabihin, kahit anong month man yan, ito yung sales mo. Wala nang kinalaman yung pagiging summer, no, if we have the Christmas season, the opening of the classes season, ganun po. Wala siyang kinalaman. Therefore, we can now proceed with our next step dahil may deseasonalized sales na. Kumbaga, huwag nyo na yan tingnan lahat. Ang meron na tayo ngayon is the month and the deseasonalized sales for last year, for this year, and this will be used for the forecast natin next year. Okay? So, anong next na step natin is to determine the trend line formula. And, ulitin ko po, this is just the regression analysis that you have tackled during your statistical analysis 2 subject. And this is the formula for the regression. Y hat equals b sub 0 plus b sub 1 multiplied to our x. Okay, we're in. So, titignan nyo po sa atin, itong deseasonalized sales natin, this will serve as our y. And this time period will serve our x. Meaning po, we are projecting now kung ano man yung magiging forecast natin next year. Therefore, magdagdag tayo ng another dito. Lagay natin dito, no? Instead of this year, let's change this to next year. And of course, let's copy and paste ang ating mga months. Copy, and then paste. Okay, so January, we have 25 na tayo. No, dahil this is for next year. Pataas ng pataas yan. Again, linear. So, oops, what happened? So, ito plus. Then, ito ang copy natin hanggang December. Nangyari yun kasi nga may space in between them. Okay, so ayan, okay na. For the sales, wala tayo dyan. For the deseasonalized sales, ito dito natin ilalagay yung sagot niya, yung magiging Y, under ng adjusted forecast. Okay? Pero po, ang data natin dyan na makukuha, para makuha natin yung ating equation, yung values ng B sub 0 and B sub 1, dito po. No, itong mga, ito at ito. Okay? So, actually guys, tedious ng ating computation for regression analysis. That's why hindi na natin yung gagawin mano-mano ulit ngayon. What we're going to do now is to use the function ng Excel regarding data analysis dahil natuturo naman sa inyo yung malalim na definition or malalim na concepts and principles of having the regression analysis. If you don't know yet, if you have some recap, just click the link above or below this video, under the description part, sa video description. So, ito po tayo. Punta sa data, and of course, the data analysis. So, choose here, regression. Then, set OK. Now, for the input ng X and ng Y range natin, for the Y range, sabi ko kanina, our input here will be the deseasonalized sales. That is the reason bakit natin siya sinolve. Ito hanggang sa ating December value. So, that is the values. For the X naman, this will be the time period natin. The 1 up to 24. Okay, and for the output range, saan natin siya gustong ilagay? Yung output niya. Dito na lang siguro. Click ko tong Excel L3. And okay, click OK. We have now the output for the regression analysis natin. And ito po sila. Yung coefficients, I hope you all still remember this. Coefficients natin, or this B sub 0 and the B sub 1. Ito yung mga values nila, So, the B sub 0 dito, that is yung walang X, The B sub 0 is the 16.13. Lagay natin dito para hindi malimutan. And si B sub 1 is ito, na X variable 1, is 0.24. Okay? Ayan sila. Now, anong gagawin natin? We will going now to use this equation. Kung titignan nyo, meron tayong B sub 0 and may B sub 1 na tayo. Ang wala tayo dito is the X. What will be the value of our X is ito na po. Kasi po, kukumpute na natin yung mismong magiging forecast natin for next year. So, our X will be 25, 36, up to 36. Okay, so i-substitute natin sa equation. We have the equation, sabi, B sub 0. So, click natin ito, B sub 0, and lock. Since idadrag natin yung formula pababa. So, i-lock plus the product of the B sub 1. Lock ulit ito. Dahil idadrag natin yung formula pababa. Multiply sa value ng ating X, which is the time period. Ito na yung hindi natin ilalock. Dahil from while dragging the formula pababa, mababago itong mga values ng X natin. Again, that is from 25 up to 36. So, upon entering, ayan, na-enter na natin. Copy and paste. Okay, so this is our forecast for next year. Okay, so sinasabi natin dito, na next year, January, we will be having 22.24 or $22,240 as our sales, and up to December, we will also have 24.93 or $24,930. Sorry guys, this is just our forecast for next year. So, i-copy na lang natin. I-copy natin yung mga values niya dito sa deseasonalization. Remember, di ba, we have deseasonalized yung sales natin. Pero yung forecast natin dapat next year, dapat meron ulit siyang seasonal variation. Okay? Dahil yun yung reality na meron tayong variation ng seasons na tinatawag. Kaya naman natin ginawa yung deseasonalization ng sales dahil nga po pinadaan natin siya sa trend projection. So dito dapat siya sa deseasonalized sales, paki-delete na lang sa inyo if sinasabayan nyo ako with Excel. And for the adjusted, that's why tinawag siyang adjusted, dapat natin ito i-multiply sa ating seasonal index. Okay? And what is our seasonal index? What is our seasonal index? Ito po, yun na-compute before. Kung titignan ninyo, pareho lang, di ba? From 0.43 up to 1.32 last year and 0.43 up to 1.32 this year. So, let's copy this and lagay natin dito. Paste yung values. Okay? And this will be our basis for our adjusted forecast. I-multiply lang po natin yung computed na deseasonalized sa ating seasonal index. Okay? And this will be now our forecast for next year. Ito na yung final. Okay? So, ayan. And i-bold natin. Meaning, 9.47 is for January next year, 32.95 for January, for the December next year as our forecast. Now, guys, if you'll check, let's try to have the graph nito. Check natin kung ano magiging itsura ng graph. So, last year, kopyahin natin ito. Ayan. Dito na lang siguro sa baba. Medyo malayo. And see next year. Ayan, tagay natin dito. Okay, so for the sales, since we have the actual sales, yung actual na yung kukunin natin, ang magiging forecast lang is yung ating next year. So, this is the sales. Okay? Ang value for next year is ito po. Lagyan natin ng green para ma-signify na this is our final answers. So, copy yung mga values niyan and paste dito. What we're going now is to have the visualization. Ano ba itsura ng ating forecast? Okay? If we're going to graph it. So, paano gagawin? Just click this month in sales up to the December next year. And insert our recommended charts is ano pa maganda. Ito na lang. Kahit ano naman dyan kung anong gusto nyo. Okay lang. So, this will be our sales format. Ito. Okay, so Del Monte. Del Monte Ketchup. Lagay natin dito yung forecast, no? Forecast for next year using trend projection with centered moving average. Trend projection malaki. Okay, so ayan. What you are seeing now is the forecast po for next year. No, yung January up to December this point is the actual sales. Ang forecast natin dyan is from this point up to this point. Kung titingnan ninyo, naibalik po natin yung seasonality ng ating trend. So, ay mayroon na ulit siyang season. May mga part na bumabagsak, may mga part na umaangat naman, pero this is now the forecast. Okay? Again, this is the trend projection with centered moving averages. I hope you guys enjoy and learn from this discussion, and see you on our next topic. Thank you for being with me on this topic. Keep safe always. See you. Bye-bye.